if you have kind of what we always talk about here is the Fab Five, right? If you have the 5 people that you have dial juice with that you can call at any point, they're going to pick up and they're going to take a meeting with you, or they're going to give you feedback on something. That's really, really impactful. And so within that route that you become kind of that expert in, develop those initial 5 relationships that are really strategic to you as you grow throughout your career. It's not as easily said as done, especially through Zooms where you're not meeting a lot of people in face to face. Hopefully that's changing here, right? But to accelerate career, become an expert in one, understand the others, and then as you're growing in the career, let's take it to the next level. Now you're an expert in one, and you're kind of managing across. Make sure that you understand the foundation and why the foundation of a channel program accelerates all routes to market, not just one.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning into Channel Voices, the podcast for future channel leaders, where we learn the ins and outs of partner ecosystems through casual conversations with channel professionals from a variety of industries, partner types, and geographies. My name is Maciek, and I'm your host. Today I have the pleasure to host Joe Callahan, the managing partner at Vation Ventures. He has over 12 years of experience working with large enterprise clients, supplying technical needs and advising on innovative business solutions leveraging technology. Joe has extensive experience in working with Fortune 500 companies, including Davita, Lumen Technologies, American Express, Comcast, Charter Communications, and Optum. Channel Voices podcast is sponsored by Channel Mechanics, your channel program automation platform. The world's leading vendors use Channel Mechanics platform to ensure ease of doing business for their partner community and channel teams, driving competitive advantage, accelerating revenue, and building partner loyalty. For more info, visit channelmechanics.com. Joe Callahan, welcome to Channel Voices.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This will be fun.
Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. Joe, you work for Vation Ventures. You do consultancy services. Would you mind giving us a peek of the most common requests that you typically get from vendors when they approach you for your channel consultancy services?
Yeah, well, why don't I give a little background on Vation just so you kind of understand kind of the approach that we have towards helping companies and emerging technologies with their channel strategies. We founded the company a little over 5.5 years ago, all on the premise that innovation is just really, really hard. And innovation at scale is super challenging, right? It's one of the most challenging things out there. And what we kind of created the company around is this idea that CIOs are on this island of innovation by themselves, getting told from their board, members that they need to innovate, but they're not given any definition of what that actually means. And so there's not this pragmatic approach to driving innovation across the high-tech ecosystem. And so we've created a company to help drive innovation across and provide innovation a path to success within every segment of the high-tech ecosystem, from the VCs to the emerging technologies to the OEMs, the distributors, resellers, MSPs, SIs, and end customers, where we help drive innovation across all. So we've created a company that does 3 things for the most part. We have a consulting arm of our business. We do go-to-market consulting to emerging technologies, almost exclusively focused on channel strategies. So I know we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Then we do innovation consulting to the market. So we help the distributors, the resellers, the SIs build innovation practices. And then we help the CIOs build innovation frameworks on how they pragmatically drive innovation and funnels of innovation within their organizations. The second piece of our business is we have a software platform. It's a next generation research tool where we're really kind of disrupting that research world that's kind of laggard in nature and how they deliver research to the market. Our platform is a platform that brings everybody in the high-tech ecosystem together so that you can research, connect, and collaborate with each other across to drive accelerated returns within innovation. And then the last piece of our business is we have an innovation advisory council network. We have over 1,200 CIOs, CTOs, CISOs as part of that network to start the feedback loop with emerging technologies on how they can be successful. Because feedback loop early on in emerging technologies life is incredibly important. And so we've just started that with our community of CIOs and the Innovation Advisory Council Network. So to answer your question more specifically, in working with the VCs and the emerging technologies around channel strategies, I kind of go back to one thing that Carl Eschenbach told us one time, and he's a partner at Sequoia Capital, one of the best VC firms in the world. He said there's three ways to innovate. There's organic innovation, which is driven through engineering for the most part, right? Creating a new product. There's inorganic innovation, which is usually driven through M&A and those types of strategies. And then the last piece is go to market innovation, which trumps the first two. You need an innovative go-to-market strategy to market, whether that you're developing a product internally and then you need to expand that throughout your organization, or you're an emerging technology that's going to market with a great product, but you need to have an innovative go-to-market strategy. We believe that innovative go-to-market strategies are very robust, and that includes having a channel strategy very early on for emerging technologies. So the VCs and emerging technologies that we work for are typically pretty early stage, and they're looking for definitions on what the channel strategy even means. They're looking for where they should start. How do they develop their first 3 to 5 strategic partners? How do they build the right program? How do they build the scalable program so they don't have to rebuild a program in 12 to 18 months? How do they work with multiple segments? What are the different routes to channel strategies? Those are the kind of conversations that we're having. And then we also work with the more advanced emerged technologies on revamping their channel strategies. How do they get back to best of breed? Maybe their first channel strategy that was the first 5 to 7 years of the company brought them to only 1 point. And now how do they accelerate that globally? So we work kind of at the beginning stages from defining what the channel is to revamping, very robust channel programs as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And in terms of those channel strategies, defining channel for those emerging technology companies, do any of the alliances type of questions come up as well? Is it a good starting point for an emerging company to start thinking about alliances early on? What do you see out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think where inexperienced emerging technologies that don't have a lot of prior channel leadership think that their best strategy is earlier on is typically they're like, I want to be, on Cisco's price list. And that's typically not the right answer for them.
Right.
But they think that, if they get on there, then the revenue is just going to come. Right. And we all know that that's typically not the case. Where we're seeing more conversations around that is the cloud marketplaces. They think if they get on a cloud marketplace, it's just going to accelerate their return. And that's also not the truth, right? So we look at the channel kind of, it used to be 3 legs of the stool. We're kind of looking at it as 4 legs of the stool today. If you think about the different routes to market within the channel, you have your traditional kind of distribution resale route, right? Which we usually tell our emerging technologies and consult with our emerging technologies. That's usually the fastest route to ROI. Yeah. Because what they're going to do is just get you at bats quick. That doesn't mean that they're going to run sales cycles at the beginning, because that's not the case. But you're going to be hand in hand when you need what you need is at bats, and that's what they're going to drive. The second kind of go-to-market strategy, in no specific order within channel that we talk to our portfolio companies about, is really around the RSI or GSI route, the solutions integrator, right? And that is a long route to revenue typically. But once you get embedded in reference architecture, shows some success within a partner of the firm, those can be very, very lucrative. But typically, we're looking at an 18 to 36 month kind of investment window to drive that. The third leg of the stool is what you kind of mentioned, and I would say it's the alliance route up into like the fully embedded route, right? So you have kind of the steps to get there where you validate that your technologies can work together through some sort of certification. Then you go to market to do joint marketing together, and then eventually you could potentially sell together within price lists. But that's kind of the third leg of the route. it's enticing. I think early on in emerging technologies strategy, they should foster some of those to see how they're playing within the ecosystem of companies that are already working with their ICPs or ideal customer profiles, right? So I think it's a route that you can dabble in and see kind of how it works. You don't need a full robust strategy super early on around it. And then the last route that we're seeing, like a really big expansion that we used to kind of lump into the SI or the channel or the VAR route, but now we're taking it out on its own, is that MSP or MSSP route, right? Like that's a very fast growing route. And we think that, that's probably the future. So you want to make sure that you have a program of how you can fit inside, that type of route. So we break it out those ways. So alliances is definitely a piece of it, just not usually a central focus to start.
Perfect. Thank you. Very, very nice to hear honest opinion about things like alliances, at what stage do you do that, but also things like marketplaces. Because when I speak to vendors, regardless, if they're well established, if they're just emerging technologies, all of them talk about marketplaces. And it seems to be just, I think, not necessarily just a hot topic, the new trend, but I think it's just a badge for some companies. They want to have that badge. Yes, we are available on Salesforce Marketplace. We are on Microsoft, whatever it may be, right? But that revenue generation from marketplaces, it really takes a long time, if it even takes off, right? Some companies never make any money from marketplaces, but they're visible there, right? That's what when they talk to their ICPs, they say, we are available there. You can go check us out. You can see we definitely integrate with that provider, right? And I think it's more used for a validation and recognition of their technology rather than a revenue generation route.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think with one caveat, right? I think the cloud marketplace is an interesting play early on, not because it's going to bring you a lot of organic leads or anything like that, but because it can draw down spend for clients through those. And that's huge, right? When a big company is committing a lot of money to AWS, as an example, and you generate the lead by yourself, the lead's not going to come through the marketplace. But if they can procure through the marketplace and then draw down spend, that's really, really big in today's kind of world. So totally agree with you. And you need to have an innovative go-to-market strategy once you're inside of those. But typically, they're not going to bring you that organic lead. That's kind of, if you get there, they will come kind of thing.
Yeah, perfect. So you mentioned, some of those early stages emerging technology companies, when they come to you to define even what channel would mean for them, what types of partnerships they should be looking for. And we live in a world where, there's a shortage of talent, not only for channel, but in technology overall, right? Just out of curiosity, do you ever get asked by any of the companies that you work with to refer someone for a channel role?
All the time. Yeah. No, I'm just going to say we're not a staffing company, so I don't want to, I'm not going to, we don't commit, but we certainly, work across the high tech ecosystem. We have a big experience in working in the channel and managing within the channel. So we get asked all the time, the market for people is really hard right now for good talent. Most of the good talent have jobs and they're pretty happy with where they're at. There's also, good talent that's looking for jobs, but the challenge is an emerging role. If you don't really know or understand the channel, how are you going to sell a talent person to come and do it with you? Someone that has talent, they're probably happy in their current job because they're driving channel within some sort of strategy. So you need a strategy within channel to then articulate to the person that you want to bring on, like, hey, we see the vision, we see the light, come do that, which is big marketing. But it's challenging. So yeah, we do get asked all the time, and we've definitely made some referrals on getting people placed.
Excellent. And maybe a bit of a personal view, or maybe based on your experience, when you speak to vendors like that, to those companies. If you were to hire or recommend a person for a channel position, what type of skills and knowledge would you typically be looking for, given the fact that there is a lack of talent available to come and work straight away?
Yeah, we've been working with a lot of emerging technologies on a strategy of, and I just want to clarify, right? This is an emerging technology response, not a big established response. But the emerging technology, Series A type company that's thinking about investing in the channel and bringing people on, I think the skill set that they're looking for from the talent is everything that you would assume from self-motivated, all those kind of things, the basic stuff that you want out of every employee. But the channel experience doesn't necessarily have to be there, right? I think that the what they're looking for is a channel account manager, or like a someone who was maybe a manager of CAMs, to then build and run a program with them where they only have to have experience in like one route, right? They have to really know one route and then have the openness to grow their career to understanding the other routes to market. And so we work with a lot of emerging technologies on saying, you're probably too early for a robust channel chief.
Yeah.
You don't, and the OTEs behind that are going to be pretty expensive. So as an emerging technology, you need to think about cash and the return. You can bring in someone who has an experience in a route, but's open to learning the other routes, and then can drive a pragmatic approach in each route early on. And so maybe you only focus on one or two routes. Maybe you only focus on, the VAR route and the MSP route, or the MSP route and the cloud marketplace route, or whatever that is. So hire someone who has the skill set within one of those routes already and is willing to grow. But also at the same time, they're going to have a big role to start, right? They're going to have kind of that director of channels role, where they will touch everything that you guys are doing from a channels perspective so that they can, elevate as they go. So all the basic fundamental things that you want out of a person in general, and then, someone who has experience in at least one route that you think will be impactful to your business.
Very interesting. On the previous episode with Jackie Rand, she mentioned even taking people directly from college, right? So who just have graduated, and she talked about it as, they have that possibility to mold that person into that new channel expert. And whatever they studied, it could have been marketing or whatever, or just general business, bring them in and try to expose them to all of those different parts of the business, but kind of steer them towards the channel, right? And she had some success doing so already. But it's interesting how how in your case, your customers, and in my case as well, we work with technology vendors. That question always pops up. Do you have anybody to refer? We are struggling in that region. We need someone to run our channel. So everyone is pretty much in the same boat today, regardless if you're a well-established company or if you're just starting and you are in that Series A, early emerging technology, and you're thinking about a new route to market, which would be via the channel.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. I think that we have seen companies bring in kind of the less experienced, just straight out of college type of persona to the channel role. Typically, it's a CAM type role. Like, hey, we just need you to manage some of these things. And it's really the way the role actually ends up playing out is it turns more into an SDR role within the channel, or a sales development rep, right? Where they're just kind of cold calling partners and trying to do that. We wouldn't say that, we wouldn't suggest that someone hires kind of the CAM SDR role to manage all of channel for technology, right? We would say, that could be a piece of the puzzle. And you can certainly do that, like within each route, hire an SDR/CAM to then start fostering conversations for someone who knows how to have the conversation. And that will help them up level quicker. for sure if they just had a channel focus. But yeah, we still think that having experience in one of the routes, if you want someone to kind of manage the entire program early on, is important.
Excellent. And you mentioned, career progression for, say, a channel account manager who comes into a Series A emerging technology company, and they would typically, you say, they would get a title of the director. They've never had such responsibility before. What do you think would be the best way for anyone who's either thinking about starting a career in channel, or is it that, channel account manager level? How would you recommend them progressing their personal careers in channel?
Yeah, become an expert in at least one route, and understand why the program was built for that route and all the caveats there with them. And the best way to do that is actually having conversations with the partners, not internally looking at your own program.
Yeah.
Right. Getting that feedback loop going with the partner, saying what's working within our program and what's not, is incredibly important. So for someone to kind of take that next level, be an expert, right? And we always talk about, even here within Vation, it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert in anything, right? Typically I think that's about a 5-year work kind of plan. You can accelerate it if you work more than 40 hours a week. But that's a different conversation for a different day on who actually does that, who doesn't. But, become an expert in one route. And if you dive into that route, build as many relationships as you can within that. And that will really help accelerate your career. If you have kind of what we always talk about here is the Fab Five, right? If you have the 5 people that you have dial juice with that you can call at any point, they're going to pick up and they're going to take a meeting with you, or they're going to give you feedback on something, that's really, really impactful. And so within that route that you become kind of that expert in, develop those initial 5 relationships that are really strategic to you as you grow throughout your career. It's not as easily said as done, especially through Zooms where you're not meeting a lot of people in face to face. Hopefully that's changing here, right? But to accelerate career, become an expert in one, understand the others, and then as you're growing in the career, let's take it to the next level. Now you're an expert in one and you're kind of managing across. Make sure that you understand the foundation and why the foundation of a channel program accelerates all routes to market, not just one, right? So now you're kind of expanding from 1 route program to 4 route programs, and you're understanding the baseline, you're understanding the one that you're already an expert in, and then you're understanding how the rest kind of build off of that. I think is really, really impactful. But develop the Fab Five, become an expert in your domain within that one, and then I would think acceleration really happens from there.
Excellent. Great point of view there. Thank you. Because, that is, I think the perception is for a lot of people that they can progress their career the quickest in the larger organizations because they can learn more, they can learn faster, etc. Right? On the other hand, you'll be just given one slice of the cake, and that's going to be your responsibility. And it would be very, very hard to go and expand knowledge and experience in the other parts of the business. Whereas with companies that are smaller, you will be given, more responsibility than whatever is just on the paper that you signed when you joined the company, right? You're going to have to start thinking, how do I do those other things? So do you think that for channel people to gain that experience, and you talked about, talk to the partners, understand what is it that they're looking for, look for that feedback loop, but what else can a person do to expand their knowledge and experience within the channel?
Yeah, so kind of 2 thoughts on that. There's definitely a route to educational understanding going with a bigger company right out of the gates and then kind of working through them. there's a lot of training that happens, a lot of like methodology that's given to understand how to manage those programs and manage those things. So both routes are fine, either going to a big company or a small company. I have a little bit more higher risk tolerance than maybe Son. I like going in the emerging side and getting thrown in the fire, because I do think that when you're thrown in the fire, as you were kind of alluding to, you're going to have a lot more responsibilities across a lot more things. You pick up things faster. You have to. You have to understand it. You have to create the workarounds to make sure everything's successful. So both routes are totally fine. Either going the more structured route through a big corporate, or the thrown in the fire route through an emerging route. If you don't have the fundamental understanding of any route to start, usually, going with the bigger OEM is a good way to understand that, for sure. However, what we've seen in the emerging route is if channels is really something you want to get into as a career, or you're maybe just a couple years in, making sure that the leadership within that emerging technology, or even emerge that's just starting a channel program, understands the value and sees the roadmap is incredibly important, or else I think you'll get stuck in a rat wheel of constant battle culturally with wanting to keep driving channel and learning channel to what is the channel actually doing, and we should go direct. And that's a very unhealthy place. So if you really want to accelerate a channel career, make sure that the leadership's aligned. And I think you'll get put in enough opportunities, whether that's an emerged technology or an emerging, where you'll learn at an accelerated pace.
Excellent. And I believe, choosing the career route for yourself, a lot of that would probably depend on the personality, where you're more comfortable. You called it that tolerance, risk tolerance. Yeah. Right? Not everybody has that. Some people want to be comfortable. They want to go into a classroom-like environment, be taught what is it that they're going to be doing, what are the fundamentals, how to do certain things, and then go and start experiencing that on their own. And some of those larger companies, they would have things like a mentor type of program where someone will be shadowing you and giving you tips, etc. Whereas the other person who really likes to be in the fire zone, per se, getting things done quickly, and I think, and I recognize that in my career, and I'm in sales, right? The thing that was mentioned to me, you want to be successful and quick, you have to learn from mistakes. To learn from mistakes, you have to make a load of them, right? So you have to be ready to accept that 80% sometimes is good enough, right? And you got to move on, learn from the 20% that didn't work, and apply that to the next thing you do, right? But that, I think, it is that differentiator between where would you fit better in terms of your career progression. Would it be someone larger with all those different programs supporting you as you progress, versus the one where you go and do a lot of self-learning and make a lot of mistakes?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's good for everyone to fail a little bit too, right? I think if you're not failing, then you're not pushing yourself to the highest limits within that, whatever that goal is. But, still making sure that you're hitting 80% of what matters. And, and, if you can have that 20% variability, that's really, really good, because it means you're pushing yourself, and it means you're getting put in uncomfortable situations. When people get put in uncomfortable situations, they learn the most, and they're not going to make the same mistake twice, right? If you never put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, no matter what the job is, you're not going to learn. And the other thing that I think really helps kind of accelerate the path to success within the channel is, I mentioned developing out your Fab Five from a partner community. Having someone you can trust at a resale partner and a GSI partner and another resale partner, that's really, really good. The other thing is developing out your Fab Five for your peer network, right? Become friends and reach out and network with someone that really understands another route that you're not as comfortable with. Develop out your five people that you can, have board level conversations with about your career in the channel, and they don't have to be much more senior than you. They just have to have a different skill set, and it's part of that skill set that you want to take from them. So, developing out both sets of there really sets you up for success and accelerating any, piece of that.
Perfect. Now, from the career progression thing, if you were to give your top 3 tips for anyone currently thinking about starting career in channel, what would you recommend? Your top 3 tips for anyone thinking about it. And keep in mind that there is no course in colleges or in universities that teaches channel. But someone heard something about channel, they thought it sounds interesting, they would like to get into it. What tips would you give them?
Yeah, it's a great question. The fundamental skill set that you need to have a successful channel career if you're just starting is, it comes from the book, how to win friends and influence people or whatever that I'm probably missing that, but it's a sales job, right? I mean, it is a sales job when you're first starting, because you got to sell a partner on whatever technology that you're working for to then have that partner bring it to their customers. And so, the top 3 things I would look at in someone starting a career in channels is, how fast can you get to your Fab 5 in building 5 channel relationships? Which means you need a skill set in work ethic and driving, net new kind of conversation around channels, right? So it's all about kind of like the SDR type of experience that I would want out of that. So figure out how to get some SDR experience, figure out how to get your Fab 5 really, really fast. And then the other thing that I think there's a lot of really good programs out there that if you're just starting, you can probably take is just taking some of those AWS certs, taking some of those types of certs that maybe don't seem as like relevant to you, but it shows that you're understanding what the high tech ecosystem is and how the high tech ecosystem interacts together. And so just getting 1 or 2 of those certs will help kind of show that. And so getting the Fab 5, driving the SDR capabilities behind that, which means you're not afraid of getting told no. You know how to cold call, you know how to send emails and LinkedIn's and all that kind of stuff. And then, getting a cert, I think would be really good to as you're interviewing, at least making sure that you're saying, I got all those things.
Yeah.
I'm working on.
Makes sense. Excellent. Thank you for that. And flip it on the other side, right? And I ask that question every single guest that comes onto the show. Joe, what's the one thing you wish you knew before you started your career in channel?
Yeah, so I started my career working in a VAR. And one of the things is I grew in my career that I learned that I think a lot of people need to understand is the operational capability of each. I wish I would have known how a VAR works in a more intimate, like operational way, as opposed to just being a sales engine, right? There's a lot behind the scenes that is really, really important. And if you don't have that kind of inside sales operational understanding of a partner, it's going to be really hard to then pitch value to a partner or work in a partner. And so I wish I would have kind of understood that. I wish I understand that. No, it's much more than sales. It's process driven, and here are the processes that need to happen, and here's why, and here's how it affects net income all the way down. So understanding that operational level would have been really, really helpful for me in accelerating. And I almost tell everyone, I think everyone should start in inside sales. If they want to be in a partner, go do inside sales in a partner, and you'll understand, like within 6 months, you'll understand how many things are actually messed up within that program, that process, because it's not easy. But yeah, that's how I wish I would have known more about the operational level of the channel. And then that helps you, articulate the strengths of your technology to the channel. Perfect.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I think that I just love the Carl Eschenbach definition of innovation, and having it meaning that the go-to-market innovation trumps organic and inorganic innovation, which is so interesting, right?
It is.
It just validates everything that we're talking about. channel is so important to almost every technology out there. And even if technologies are driving like product-led growth and they think that will take them to the moon, the reality is it'll take them so far. Like that first S-curve of analysis, great. You're doing the direct sales, product-led growth, perfect. But that second S-curve is almost always and should almost always be channel go-to-market strategy. Now you have to do, a global sales effort or a regional sales effort. You can't keep hiring one-on-one direct sales with product-led growth. You've got to do something else. And that's what validates why we're all here today. At the end of the day, sales is a relationship-driven game still.
Yeah.
Even though there's a lot of ways to buy things direct through marketplaces and things like that, people still trust people. And that's why I love the work that you're doing and what we're doing in the channel, because it helps validate how we are all driving innovative go-to-market approaches for technologies, whether they're emerged or emerging, to help drive them. So yeah, that's thanks for having me on this topic. It's really fun to talk about.
No, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really enjoyed the discussion today, and I hope we'll get to speak again very soon. And maybe we'll do another podcast on a different subject, but obviously within the channel partnerships.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Joe, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks. Cheers.
And that's a wrap for this episode. I do hope you found it valuable, and if you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow Channel Voices Podcast on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Or just visit channelvoices.com, where you can send me a message or leave a voicemail. All of the links are listed in the show notes. And once again, I appreciate you tuning in today. Until next time.